The 6 Series is one of the most legendary models that BMW has ever offered. Starting its life with an aggressive super coupe of the 80s with its shark nose design, to its extremely popular and well-rounded second generation, designed by legendary designer Chris Bangle, the 6 Series has a lot of fans. In India, you can get the car as a cabrio, a 2-door coupe and a 4-door coupe, and while the 6 Series is known for its sportiness, this new body style isn't meant to be sporty at all. In fact, it is quite the opposite. Now, compared to all those glorious BMWs we just showed you a couple of seconds ago, this body style is a little disappointing, especially for me who believes in purity of design when it comes to certain brands. But there is definitely a need for such a car in the BMW lineup, especially considering the fact that the 5 Series GT doesn't exist anymore, so this fills that gap perfectly. It is still a notchback and it still has a lot of design, smaller details, which even the 3 Series GT has. So for example, you get a vent on the bumper here which flows air through, and even the lower grille is angled inwards, so it gives the car a wider, sportier stance. You have little fins behind the kidney grille here which close off if you don't need them, thereby improving aerodynamics. And the GT is very famous for this design, and the 6 Series has always been famous for this design. Pillarless doors. Now I think this is really cool, and a normal family car having pillarless doors is definitely something that I approve of. When you do shut them, you do put the windows down, you get this lovely open feel, and it does have a lot of coupe elements, and this is cool. Apart from that, of course, this is still a notchback, and it does have an electronically folding spoiler which you can press a button and fold down or fold up, which is a thing in all GTs. And as I said, a notchback, so you have a huge loading area, which does have a box now, but you have a huge loading area, and it is basically a large hatchback, but with all that sedan dimension. It does suit its sort of job really perfectly well. Personally, I do think it needs larger wheels as standard though, and not as an option as available currently. Okay then, I will go past the fact that this car now exists in the lineup, and actually it does look quite neat, even though BMW purists are possibly contemplating seppuku. The 6 GT is available with just one variant, but BMW is considering more variants, and more importantly a diesel engine, as currently it is only available with a petrol. Now the luxury car market in India is slowly moving back towards petrol engines, considering the fact that the actual price difference between buying a petrol motor or a petrol variant and buying a diesel variant isn't too high, and of course the difference between fuel prices for petrol and diesel have sort of come down drastically as compared to what they were a few years ago. Of course, petrol does have its advantages. It's a quieter engine in most cases. It's also very fuel efficient now, considering all these new petrol engines are turbocharged, and playing on all of those sentiments is exactly what BMW has done by offering the 6 GT with just a petrol option. The engine is a 2-litre 4-cylinder petrol unit, which of course is turbocharged, making 255 bhp of peak power and 400 Nm of peak torque. All that power gets the 6 GT from 0 to 100 km per hour in 6.3 seconds and onto an electronically limited top speed of 250 km per hour. Now that much power in a car like this with applications like this is more than enough to get you going, especially considering the fact that most of the time, if you own one of these or if you buy one of these, you're going to spend your time in the back seat while a chauffeur or a driver is going to actually drive you around. But the advantage, well, luxury and comfort is the whole theme of the GT, and the petrol engine suits this really well because NVH levels are really low and the engine is extremely non-intrusive when it comes to actual driving cycles. It is a very quiet engine. It does sort of rev up nicely when you really push it if you need to, but then will you ever need to do that in a 6 GT? Not really. The 6 GT is larger than the 5 Series in terms of length, width, height, and most importantly, wheelbase. Although the actual cabin space in the rear is similar, when it comes to headroom, the 6 GT's lift-back design means taller people can sit more comfortably. And the seats too are set higher than the sunk-in ones you get on the 5. You also get a rear infotainment package electronically reclining rear seats, and electronic rear blinds. More wheelbase also means more legroom, and that, combined with the more plush and softer seats, really makes the 6 GT's back seat a great place to be in. Up front, the 6 GT is actually like a 5 Series, only a little more higher set. For a sedan, it actually gives you a nice commanding view of the road, and of course, as the 5 Series, it comes loaded to the gills with technology. A massive touchscreen, BMW's excellent iDrive, and the gesture control for volume are all present here. And just like the rear seats, the front seats are comfy too, and in my opinion, slightly larger than the ones you get on the 5. The panoramic sunroof also helps making the car a lot airier, and in all ways, the 6 GT ensures you get pampered. The BMW 6 Series GT is priced at 60,80,000 rupees ex-showroom, which is about 7 lakhs more than the comparable 5 Series. While it has nowhere near the dynamics of the 5, it does offer comfort in spades for a price that is much lower than the flagship 7 Series. For what it is meant to do, be a no-nonsense luxury limousine with a BMW badge, it does its job really, really well. But that brings us to the big question. If dynamics is not what you are looking for, and luxury is what you really want from your chauffeur-driven luxury car, why not just have the E-Class long wheelbase instead?